Swiggity sorty, let's get that booty.
It's another episode, y'all. Welcome back to the Slim Cogcast. It is I, Slim Cognito, here again for some news. And I can't describe the week. It's actually been pretty good. Beyond saying that it's been a great week, I can't think of any other words to describe it. So in a wholesome mode and feeling, I want to jump right in. I also hope you all had a great week as well. It's been rather productive for me, and that's the nice way of saying I've been busy as hell. But toward the end, I've got me some rest, and I feel a lot better. So let's hope that I don't work myself to death. All right, but enough to prosper. Now, jumping in. First things first, we got to talk about the anime, and one of the things that I want to go ahead and put a nail in the coffin for is Nanbaka Season 2. And I got some feelings about this because I was hella invested and enjoying the hell out of that anime, and suddenly the ending, oh my goodness, spoiler alert. Actually, I'm not even gonna go all the way into spoilers. I'm just gonna say it like this. So take back the spoiler alert. I'm not gonna spoil no plot details. I'm just gonna say that it was the biggest, fattest, most diabetic, juicy ass cliffhanger ever, bro. Like that second season, which is the only season that I've known so far, the latest one so far that's been animated, when it came out 2017. So if it came out 2017, then tell me why in the fresh hell have we not gotten a new season since? That shit was incredible. I was loving it. I don't know why they didn't give us more. So whatever may be going on, I tried to research it. They say that the studio who did animate it is working on some other things, maybe some bigger animes that people were looking and waiting on already. So I kind of understand that. That's not too big. That's not too bad. So I understand. Otherwise, I enjoyed every bit of it. It was very hilarious. It didn't take itself too serious, so you didn't mind it going off the rails. And the final episode, which was a OVA like thing, with just switching things up, I thought it was just the OVA like alternate universe type thing, but then it turned out to be a goddamn precursor to the full story, and it amazed me. I was just like, whoa, you know what I mean? So either way, good show, very, very good, and I highly recommend for anybody. How can I say? No, I don't want to beat around the bush. I highly recommend this anime for anybody who's not easily offended in their sexuality and way too male bravado. Okay, just bravado. Excuse me. If you don't mind watching an anime full of androgynous males and all of them have nails, like, you know what I'm saying, but they do kung fu and martial arts and they kick each other's asses and all type of shit. It's super good. It's got superpower stuff, shonen type things going on, but it's also a comedy anime. Like, it's so good. It's funny. So if you like those type of things, everything put into one, you know what I mean, just go ahead and give it a shot. I bet you'll like it. It's only 2 seasons out so far. Each season was like about what? I want to say 12, 13 episodes. So, bite in on that. Now, if I had to give it an overall rating, even though I hate number ratings, I'd say it's worth a watch in a solid, well, okay, it's hard to say because it achieves the comedy aspect. And it also achieves going for the shonen aspect, but it didn't lean too much into the shonen aspect. It just did enough to build it up. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say. It's an if and or. So I'm teetering between a 7.5 to an 8. So that's my range that I'll give it. I'm not gonna give it a set number, but I'll give it a number range. So 7.5 to an 8. Is what I give it. Nanbaka. It's hella enjoyable. Cast of characters are different enough to where you actually do learn their names, even though they're just named after the numbers that they wear in the prison. And it's just good, bro. I enjoyed it. Or maybe I just needed an anime that was a lot easier on digestion. I'm one of those jaded anime watchers, okay? I've been watching anime since the 90s and been watching it since it was available on the internet. So it's hard to really enjoy most things when it's too many tropes in the way. If you understand what I mean. And because of that, because I try to get around the tropes in anime, is the reason why I gravitated toward things like Hunter x Hunter and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I want something crazy and silly enough to where it doesn't take itself too serious. And Full Metal Alchemist, those three are like my top. They're in my top 10 of anime of all time list because it's able to have a joke every now and then. It feels good to breathe and laugh with the characters and remember they feel more human in that way rather than it's always serious time. It's always serious time. I can't afford to laugh because I gotta be serious character. I can't stand that shit. That'll put me to sleep instantly. Now, leaving Nanbaka alone, let's move to another anime that I just started watching off of as per request, or let's say not request, but yeah, it was a request. As per request, I was told to check out Burn the Witch, and there's about 3 episodes available as of right now, to my knowledge. I'm not sure when the new episodes drop. If they do drop Monday, then then maybe it's gonna be 4 in a few hours. But all in all, to get to the point, Burn the Witch, I've only seen about 2 episodes so far, and the whole premise is this version of London in the real world, and there's a version of London that's like the upside down, like Stranger Things, but it's not as creepy or weird and freaky. It's just a Hogwarts version of London with dragons flying around and witches who are employed to detain and, I guess you could say, bring order to these dragons as they live amongst humans or whatnot. Or let's not call them humans, but I guess magicians and whatever they call that one guy. He's a dragon something, but for some reason there's this guy who has just been introduced to. For some reason, dragons are drawn to him. And to be honest, pour me a couple. Okay, but there's been a scene thus far that introduced some other way cooler, way more interesting characters, and I'm glad I went on ahead and brought that up because I said that to say this. The two main characters, I forgot their names already. I just started the anime, so anyway, one is a blonde chick, and she's like some type of teen idol, famous teen idol, back in the real world of London, and the other is a brown-haired, very serious, stoic type of personality who is all about her money and getting the job done and doing things right. So, you know, they're supposed to like play off each other because the idol is more, you know, carefree and fuck it type of behavior, which I understand the dynamic, but I'm only a few episodes in, so I can't fairly say this, but I can say that so far, after 2 episodes, I really don't have much incentive to keep watching this shit. These 2 main characters are so goddamn boring, I don't know what to do. Like I understand that she's an idol, so she's tired of all the attention that the people give her, and they're spinning her words and trying to ruin her reputation. But the most interesting thing that happened to that main character thus far is that one girl who she used to, I guess, work with or co-star in a show with, became obsessed with her and actually fell in love with her. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're not afraid to do gay relationships in this anime. That's cool, but that ain't saving a character that's not interesting. Like, she just seems annoying more than anything. Like, I don't feel that go get her, hell yeah, let's go type of vibe, or let me become a better, stronger person type of vibe. I just get she's just dicking around and loving the fact that she got powers type of vibe, and I don't really follow that too well. I don't really gravitate toward those type of characters. So I'm not gonna say that they're bad, but goddamn, I find them boring. The magic seems kind of cool, I guess. Hopefully it's gonna be more, you know, fleshed out, more bombastic as time goes on. But I really don't want to follow these 2 chicks. If anything, the black haired chick seems more interesting. I'd rather follow her, see what she's going on, you know, what's going on with her. Because the main thing when it comes to making a main character in an anime, take a prime example like Kill la Kill. And I'm gonna use that exactly so we could just, you know, draw parallels with the fact that they're female characters. Okay, what was her name? Mikasa and Satsuki, something like that. Anyway, so Dante girl in red, she, you know, was gung-ho and she was a badass and she didn't give a fuck. Like, that was cool. It was awesome. And I was all for it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, she had a motivation. She had something to strive toward. Like, they made her purpose clear within the first episode, or the first few episodes. I can't recall when, but they made it clear that she wanted to find out what was going on in her father's lab and the truth behind the weapon and the outfit that she was given by her father. That is an amazing reason for me to give a damn about her and the plot moving forward. Your main character is a rich and famous celebrity who is a part-time witch, bro. What type of motivation is there? The only bit that they hinted at was she wanted to move up the ranks and become a saber. But I'm like, motherfucker, I don't even know what a saber is. How you want me to give a damn about you becoming that? How do you want me to care about or want to see? I can't want to see the character become something that I don't know what it is, you see? And that's the issue that I have with it thus far. But I'll keep up with it, I guess, since it's not a huge amount to commit to. Hopefully it's just a 13 episode run, but I'm going to give it a chance. But still, thus far, the biggest thing that holds it back for me is that just the thought of this whole setting and the set pieces and plot points, it makes me subconsciously compare this anime to Soul Eater. And it ain't no Soul Eater, not one bit. So I'm just, gonna ride it out and see where it goes. Anyway, that's about it for the anime that we watched this week. So let's jump right on into the games that we've been playing this week. Now, I'm gonna have to confess something. The very thing that I hated and the reason why I didn't want to play an MMO is the very thing that I knew was happening is happening now. And the thing is with MMOs is that the amount of gameplay that you perform and the amount of reward that they give you does not equalize. Like, you do so many non-gameplay tasks, and I hate that shit. Like, you're not actually doing something. It's like, all right, mission is to go over here and look at this item, and the most different thing, or go to this location just so it can lead you to another location, then lead you to another, and then fight one or two mobs and enemies, and then turn in the quest. That shit's trash to me. I can't stand it. So, but Genshin is a little less offensive because it's actually got like set piece type stuff and the bosses and stuff that go along with the plot. But bruh, it's number one, it's addictive enough in its own design, but also because all of my friends are fucking playing it. But I just don't like the fact that MMOs literally soak up my time because I get drawn into them. I have a completionist mindset and a perfectionist mindset. This is a good and healthy thing to have. However, in a capitalism-driven nation, we have spent the last several decades to create systems that take advantage of this mindset to string people along and keep them using certain products. And video games are the biggest offensive things of this, especially when it came to Chinese developed MMOs. MMO games were made by the Chinese to keep you so drawn in and continuously playing it to the point where you will neglect everything else in life. You cannot keep up on certain MMOs. Will give you the chance to go at your own pace, but there's a lot you miss out on in the majority of MMOs, and we're talking like 80 to 90th percentile if you don't play every single day for a minimum amount of, say, 4 hours or 6 hours. I try my best to have my Genshin Impact sessions down to maybe like 2 or 3 hours, and it turns into 5, and then it turns into 7. I don't like that. I don't like that because I like to play different games. And if I put 30 to 50 hours into a game, I need to have some type of payoff to the equivalent of playing any other game that has a start and finish. So basically what I'm telling you is I can see the Matrix and I don't like it. It's not that I don't like MMO games. I'm not saying MMO games are bad. I have played MMOs before, but they soak up way too much time for the little reward that they give you for that time spent. But when that same time spent, I can play Devil May Cry 5 or any of these other hundreds of games on my backlog, not even counting my PC games, but my PS4 games or my 3DS games that I want to finish. I still want to finish Spirit Tracks. I still want to finish like I said, we will stream the Evil Within 2 for the Halloween, spooky season. But it's other stuff. I want to play Assassin's Creed Origins. I want to play Days Gone. But Genshin Impact is too offensive of a type of game. It's not even really an MMO. That's what makes it even worse. It's a gacha mobile game that's made to string you along and make you play more and more and more and more and more with very little rewards. And to top it all off, you have a random roll gacha feature for characters. And another thing about Genshin Impact, I guess this would be my official review of the game. My problem with Genshin Impact is that there are way too many puzzles and things on the open world map that require a specific character. When it comes to, and the geo options are so trash, they should have never made any type of complex puzzles involving the geo, because the only two possible ways that you can use geo is if you have a Noel or if you switch the main character to the geo what's the word I'm looking for, element affinity or whatnot. And that's a problem, because for one, the male geo compared to his wind abilities, the geo power will suck ass. But the thing is, if you come across a puzzle in the open map, all right, and it says you have to hit these 3 to 5 switches, is always an odd number, to 7 switches with an earth element. Okay, let's say I still have wind equipped to the main character. We're going to call him main character Kun from here on out, because that's what I call him. So let's say main character Kun has a wind element affixed to him. So my only other option is to use Noel. Now, with Noel, you only have 2 ways to activate these switches, and that's with your E, which is a shield/barrier, and that means getting right up on the switch and using that barrier to activate the switch. Okay, that's one scenario. Second way that you can do so is if you have your ult ready, which actually just buffs your weapon and imbues it with extended range and geo elemental damage. So here's the problem with that. When certain puzzles require you to do these switches, and there's a limited time for you to do them all, it's going to be impossible if you use Noel, because her cooldown on her E is like, what? I think it's like 15, 16 seconds or something like that. Maybe 12. I might be tripping. It might not be that much. It might be like 12 to 13. But it's a long ass time. And by the time you light 2 of them, waiting on the barrier to pop back up off of cooldown, they're gonna shut themselves off and you got to start over. So it's not possible to Noel unless you use her ult. Okay, cool. Now you go with your main character. In order to switch him in Affinity, you have to go to a goddess statue, fast travel all the way to a goddess statue, then go back to the location you were doing the puzzle, which oftentimes does not have a fast travel next to it. Now they say in the patch they're going to give us a custom waypoint, fast travel waypoint, which would be nice, but still, bro, it's a fucking hassle. There's another puzzle I had to do. It required me to activate these earth element switches all around it in a big area, and it had like shallow water around, shallow and deep water. But yeah, and there was one that needed me to use the wind element, which, by the way, the only options for wind right now is your main character's default affinity, element affinity, and Venti, which is a character you would have to roll out of the gacha, which does not come out that often. Mind you, it'd be nice if I get them, but I don't see a lot of people getting Venti that often. None of my friends got Venti except for one. Like, it's just trash when it comes to choices. So it's like, what you have to do is use him to activate it. Using him to activate would allow you to hit an earth switch. So you would have to use main character, activate it, the ability to use the switch, and then activate the switch using Noel. So you go out there with Noel, but they put it on a little small ass platform that you can't just crawl up to, swim up to, climb onto and then activate your barrier. It's not happening. It's a small ass platform, so I had to abuse geometry to climb the well up on it and activate the switch. But guess what? That ain't even the end of the bullshit. The fact that it's a limited time to activate the earth switch, bro. So you have to get up on the platform with that little bitty sliver of geometry that you can find, and activate your shield and hope that you don't fall out of the range to activate it in time after you've activated the possibility to use the switch. I know this sounds very complicated to say, but I'm going to simplify it just like this, okay? They make these puzzles strictly for certain characters to solve. And that's trash design to me, because I feel like, why would you make characters that have to be leveled? They need certain weapons to be viable after a certain level. They need to be, given certain upgrades and artifacts. Like, what's the purpose of this? And then give you interchangeable characters for each element. For example, Amber, your default fire type, she has a bow and arrow. She can shoot fire arrows to light torches. Nobody else can do it. So I had Bennett in my party, and he's a sword user. He's melee. So of course he can't climb up on the wall, get all the way up there just to light each of the torches, and they have a limited time that they all need to be lit. So it's like, nope, you have to use Amber. That's dumb. Every single puzzle and obstacle in the game should be equally interchangeable and completable by any character of that same element. It's bad enough that you have to have a certain element to complete the task, but it's even worse that it's barred behind certain capabilities that other characters just cannot do it. That's dumb. Okay, I just had to get that off my chest. Either way, the next thing is that I just want to sum up and say that I just been playing too much Genshin Impact, and I'm not comfortable with that exactly. But we just hit level, what was I think it's 29 adventure level. About to hit 30, and we're gonna bring the world level up to 3 soon. So we're gonna see what happens. But I'm not gonna play. I don't think I'm gonna play another MMO after this one. I just can't. I like being productive, and I like my time being worth a damn. I don't like a video game wasting my time and giving me less game. You're literally getting less game and spending more time doing the same damn dailies. I did dailies, and it's been the same shit. Go over here, activate this switch by standing on it for a few seconds, and then run to this other location that's literally like 100 meters away from you, and you gain more time to get there by killing the enemies. What? This is the gameplay that what? You know what I mean? So I just gotta be real with my opinion, bro. When it comes to MMOs, they really string you along. The most least offensive MMO that I play still to this day is DC Universe, because they actually give you instances. Like, you literally go through the ranks of being a starter superhero that works out of the motherfucking police, the police station, and doing small petty crime cleanups, and then you work your way up and get invited into the motherfucking Justice League, and you working right out of the Watchtower. That's dope. That's good shit. And then you move up and you start fighting real villains, fighting beside your favorite hero, or vice versa, fighting your heroes with your favorite villains, depending on the path you take. That's way fucking better. I don't get. Either way. Let's move on and hop into the news. I'm way too worked up right now. Anyway, over here on asweplay.com, all right, here we have an article. I don't see the author anywhere on this, actually, now that I think about it. Do they not credit their people? Here we go. Harris Iqbal, the creator of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, wants to create a follow-up. And he tweeted out, Sam Barlow was his name, by the way. And he tweeted out saying that basically the tweet is word for word, I quote, "That feel when an interviewer asks what you do to make a Shattered Memories follow-up today, but you can't tell them because you're currently pitching that thing." So that means there's a possibility we can get us a sequel to Shattered Memories. For those who don't know, the reason why this is such a cult favorite classic hit is because Silent Hill Shattered Memories was that one ugly duckling of the group of of Silent Hill games that came out on the Wii of all console. And this is during the time where the 360 had Downpour and the PSP had I forget of it. But there's just been let's say, I want to say maybe after 3. Some say The Room, Silent Hill 4 was pretty good, but it's been debatable onwards. But everybody can agree that Silent Hill 2 is the best one. But Silent Hill had a real nosedive in quality once they hit the 360 PS3 era. But this one game on the Wii was amazing. I played it myself, actually, back in my college days. I told y'all already, when it comes to horror games, I'm a pussy. All right. So when I was playing that with the homies, we hit the lights, bro. We started playing that shit. It scared the hell out of me, bro. Like, it was too much. But, you know, after a while, when you get so invested in the story and curious about what's going on, your curiosity overpowers your fear. So, you know, I started loving it more and more. But that's not even the thing that the game was famous about. The thing that the game was famous for was it was the first game to introduce the mechanic that Until Dawn actually ripped it off a lot. In the beginning, it would ask you certain questions and have you perform basic exercises that would be reminiscent of a person being in a therapy session, talking to a psychologist or therapist. And you literally talk to a character, voice acted and animated as a psychologist talking to you, a shrink. And based on the things that you do by coloring a picture or answering certain questions, really, you know, supposedly it's supposed to be a system implemented to not only give more insight into who you are on a psychological level, but also the game was edited based on your psychological profile that you create by performing the task and answering the questions at the beginning of the game. Therefore, based on the type of personality you have, they would change the jump scares or change what actually scares, you know, what would, you know, throw you off the most and make you uneasy. And it was phenomenal. It was pioneering and it was innovative. Now, here's the kicker. The difference between it and Until Dawn just straight up told you, what are you more afraid of? Clowns or werewolves? And then later in the game, boom, you chose clown, we're going to scare you with a clown mask. Like, it was too blatant and you could easily see behind the curtain on that one. But let's head back up the yellow brick road and get back on topic. Basically, this game was a phenomenal step forward in creative ideas in game design with limited hardware, which still brings about the debate and something that I've been saying for years, decades even. Well, I won't say decades, but maybe about a little over a decade, is that limited hardware forces you to be creative with the game and makes a better game most of the time. And a lot of creative titles, indie to AA titles, were made during the Wii's existence and also the 360. I'll be fair. When it came to third party, the 360 and the Wii came out with a lot of unique stuff that was just phenomenal. So, hey, I guess that's another proof on the pile. Anywho, it would be nice to see that, because he was also the person who made Her Story and Telling Lies, which was that like live action. It was like a live action game where you had to like play as an investigator and look over a bunch of footage for just to piece together information and try to find out what really happened and who killed who, and, you know, get down to the bottom of an investigation based on just the evidence you have. You just have to pick up on certain cues, take notes, and then search up those keywords, and then you'll find the footage that you need in order to, you know, deem it damning evidence or, you know, admissible. So yeah, I'd say that this guy has the brain. He has it, you know, and I would love to see him make a sequel or at least some type of rendition spinoff or something. Like, hope and pray that Konami don't be with, Silent Hill. Yeah, let's just hope and pray that Konami ain't with the bullshit. Long story short. All right, I've spent too long on that article, so here comes. I'm gonna spend a long time talking about this next thing too, and then we're gonna have to hit the lightning round and knock out the rest of the article. So, because this is worthy of a full explanation. Now, there was a video that surfaced on the 7th by Sony themselves, who did a full PlayStation 5 teardown of the hardware itself, so that we could see how it is done. it is made in so many innovative, smart design ways to the point where it blows my mind. Like there's like a minimal amount of screws to be able to take this thing apart and service it and or clean it. So I love that. And if you go beyond that, everything else is super, super easy to navigate and hopefully clean. Even if you're inexperienced, I would imagine, or at least I hope, I would imagine that it would be easier for even a person who's never dealt with hardware or taken apart a console themselves. That being said, I wouldn't advise it if you don't know what you're doing. So just please be cautious and look up and get informed before you do so. But yeah, it looks pretty freaking good. I cannot lie. The biggest things that stood out to me, first of all, he ran us by the ports, and the ports available are plain and simple. You know, you got your USB Type-C, which is the new USB port. Basically, if we go with these USBs, we shouldn't have to change or upgrade or get a new rendition of USB for a good while. Okay, the USB Type-C, it rivals the Lightning ports, and they are hella fast. See, it's supposed to be this super speed USB 10 gigabit per second, which is neat and something we've been needing. And now we have the USB Type A port, which is, basically a basic USB at this point. We have USB Type A ports in the back, up to 10 gigabits, which is just basically USB 3.0. We'll have a LAN port and HDMI port on the back. Now, they did not specify if it was HDMI 2.1 or if it was just HDMI. Which rendition is it? I want to know which version of HDMI it is. Likely it's 2.1, I hope, especially if they expect for people to be using these on OLED, newer, high refresh rate TVs. So we'll just have to see. And there's the AC in connector, of course, for the power. Now, the next thing that they wanted to showcase is that he gave us a look at the fact that the ventilation, the way it works, is it literally works like a PC tower, and it intakes air. Fresh air will be intake from the front of the console, and the exhaust is literally the entire back of the cons. So that entire black slim part in the middle is literally the vents for intake and exhaust, and that's super good design in my opinion. Because why not have good airflow through the entire machine rather than having airflow on one part, just centralized on usually the CPU is the old design philosophy, is just make sure that it's good airflow around the CPU to keep it cool. But these days, with more powerful RAM at higher clock speeds, you're going to need to keep the RAM cool. You're going to need to keep your CPU cool. You're going to need to keep your GPU cool. All these things are going to be, you might as well just cool the entire machine and just kill two birds with one stone. Three birds with one stone, so to speak. Now, another thing that was pretty neat that we talked about last week, which was kind of leaked out on the internet through etc. and Twitter, which is basically the stand is a very unique and innovative design where not only it's held on the bottom, if placed vertically, it's going to be on the bottom, held there by one single screw. It seems to be a very unique and single purpose screw, but that screw holds the stand in place, and removing that screw will not only reveal the stand itself to be interchangeable for it on its side when it's horizontal, but also it has a little compartment on the inside to store said screw, which is a very smart design as well. And without the screw is how you mount the, I guess you could say mount the stand. Yeah, mount the stand so that it can sit horizontally. And it's very, very sleek, innovative, smart design. It's so smart. You save on materials and you make it the most useful. Like it's reminiscent of the design of the PlayStation 2, in my opinion, because the PlayStation 3 wasn't that well made for being on its side, especially for, what was it? I think the original fat model was made to be on the side and the and laid flat and horizontal and vertical, excuse me. But nobody really did that, and it was always a better choice to keep your PlayStation flat and in a cool environment. All right, now PlayStation 4, I think that's the same case. I think the original was all right. Wait, before I even go forward, yeah, the slim PS3, not a great idea either because sometimes it was just too small. The super slim PS3 was more applicable for sideways use design wise, but the one drawback on that design, which it was bad to put it vertical, was the fact that you had a mechanical disc bay. The cover for the disc was mechanical rather than motor operated by a button. So yeah, it would be encumbersome to close it. You had to close it with your hand on the. Now PS4, like I said, the original PS4 Fat, the rhombus or the parallelogram, it was more of a I guess you could say you could put it vertically, but because is more of a square design, there's no use. You take up way less shelf space if you lie it flat and horizontal. So that argument can go either way. But as far as the slim PS4 and the Pro, I haven't seen anybody like openly use it sitting horizontal. I've never found it to be beneficial for anybody. But hey, there's always one guy. So, but this one harkens back to PS2, like I said, because PS2 was simple. It didn't really need a stand. It was just you lay it flat or you sit it up and you go, and it was working fine just that way. Even for the Slim was a whole nother case. The Slim, that thing was so little and light. But yeah, the fat PS2. This is giving me fat PS2 vibes. I said all that to say. All right. Anywho's, right under the covers, the white covers on the front and back of the console, basically they're easily removed. There's no screws binding them, and you can just peel them off and remove them. Unless he removed the screws and it was cut out of the video, I'm not sure. But it reveals right under that you will see a lot of dust collectors and dust traps designs, which is pretty good. And also, he said there's a future storage expansion. There's an M.2 interface with PCIe 4.0 support. Basically, it's an NVMe drive slot for additional storage. So here's the thing though. Are those going to be only compatible with Sony's NVMe drives, or are they going to be, open for third party market, production? Like, can I just get name any brand that makes NVMe SSDs? Maybe Seagate, I'm not sure, but can I just grab one of those, or Western Digital? I'm sure, yeah, they could. Can I just get one of those and pop it in, or do I have to go directly to Sony to get one of those? That's what I wanted. I'm not sure about that, the details on that. If it's already floating around, then either I'm not sure about it or I missed it, but that's what I'd like to know. All right, next thing. Okay, we noticed that he removes the warranty sticker, and the warranty sticker does not show up until after he's taken both of the white plates off and then commences to remove components. So taking the white plates off is literally for the casual consumers to be able to clean their console out when necessary, and that's super smart. Hopefully this will be the one fat model that'll have the longest lifespan. We'll see. Either way, he proceeds to remove components, and once he took the fan out, it really like threw me away at the design of this fan, because it looks like a normal air cooler, but its positioning makes its use and application way different than the usual air cooler. Usually air coolers that are used on, say, GPUs and CPUs, they have direct contact with a heat sink, and it's used to cool the heat sink and conduct the heat directly off of the CPU's heat spreader. Now, this thing, however, the way it's made, by the way, it is a 120 millimeter diameter and 45 millimeter thick double-sided air intake fan. So this is strictly made to take in fresh air and then circulate it around it like a turbine of sorts, making a vortex of air within. And it's really the fan on the sides of it. The thickness, the fins on the thickness side, the thick side of it, the width is what gives the cooling to the entire system. If I were to give an example, think of the way that fans are made on the on the AMD graphics cards, it's pretty much the same design philosophy. Basically, one fan all the way on one end, and it circulates the air through on a natural level and then exhausts it somewhere else. Rather than you would see other fans from like MSI and Nvidia that would, the cooling system on a GPU, it would have more than one fan on either side or 3 fans all across in order to cool it directly. So there's a lot of different ways that you can approach air cooling, of course, but I love this choice of design philosophy because now they're saying we could use less fan to keep the entire thing cool by circulating the air, and I really love it. They really did design this around airflow, and I love that. The geek in me is going crazy. All right, like that's a super good idea. Now he takes out the Blu-ray, which of course it's been the same technology since the 3. Not much has changed. Of course it has stabilization to keep it from shaking too much and making noise. And of course, cables for the Wi-Fi it's Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1 antennas. And he took off the motherboard shield and he took off the back plates from the CPU to show us the motherboard. Now, he told us that it is a x86 64 AMD Ryzen Zen 2 processor. Clocked is 8 cores, 6 threads, clocked at 3.5 gigahertz. That's 2 more cores and 4 more threads than mine and my PC, to give you guys some understanding of how much further this thing is. So literally this thing is on par with current PCs. You could literally get yourself an AMD Zen 2 8 core 16 thread 3.5 gigahertz, possibly boost up to like 3.9, maybe 4.2, something like that. Who knows? I don't, is the point of saying who knows. But speaking in terms of my processor, it is a hexa-core, 6 core, 12 threads, and it runs up to a 3.9 gigahertz boost, but it's clocked at 3.5 default. This is basically a 1 step higher CPU than mine, and it's good. It's good. All right. That is the reason for that is because the processor I have is more than enough to game and play anything current gen and next gen. This is an overstep just to make sure that's like future proofing the console. We might sit up with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X competition for like probably more than a decade, because this generation lasts from 2013 to 2020. Right, that's a 7-year console generation, which is the longest that has been thus far. But this right here, future proofing, there's nothing that you can't do in a game. If you got this much processing power, that good of a GPU, that good of integrated RAM, you don't need much more. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's get on in, because I'm rambling and it's getting way too. But either now the GPU is 2.23 gigahertz and delivers 10.3 teraflops. Like I said once before, a few podcasts or a lot of podcast episodes ago. But teraflops, I don't even like to hear. I get real like ADD when I hear the word teraflops, because it's literally like a full unit of measurement. It's not really that well of a unit of measurement to judge power capability of hardware, but it's the closest one we have. Basically the main thing that we're gonna be getting down to about GPU is GPUs don't really need super high clock speeds. They just need a lot of VRAM and fast transfer speed. That's the biggest thing about a GPU. Now, for those who don't know, real quick, a GPU is the graphics processing unit. It's literally just a separate processor that's made to take care of all of graphical load. Anything that has to do with drawing models and animating and, anything video and audio related is handled through the graphics card. That's not anything video related, but audio things that aren't handled by the motherboard. Excuse me. I'm trying not to it's technology, so it's technical, and the technical shit that I don't want to be wrong about is really making me drawn on way too long. But yeah, GPU basically is like, hey bro, I'll handle the visual shit. You just do all the thinking, and that's what the CPU does, all the thinking. So when it comes to when you wondering about load times, when you wondering about being able to basically, let's see, like if you're worried about load times, texture popping, things like that, consistent frame rate, those type of things are handled by the CPU. When it comes to character models, the amount of textures and how big the textures are, if it's HD textures or not, all of these factors are handled by the GPU. So there's a lot of ifs and buts, exceptions and inclusions to everything that I just said, like literally everything since we started talking about the PS5 teardown, but we don't have to get into that right now. So let's just say I'm half right, half wrong, but most of the fundamentals are correct. Everything that I'm telling you is basic. I'm trying to keep it on the fundamentals so it won't get too deep and too wrong. But yeah, now he explained the memory, which is they installed 8 GDDR6, which is like, GDDR is kind of like the generation label of RAM, and basically it just gets a little faster and a little more beefier with each generation. It's all about, when it comes to RAM, it's transfer speed. Capacity is not really a problem anymore. It's all transfer speed now. So this is 8 GDDR6 that delivers a maximum bandwidth of 448 gigabytes per second. All right, let that sink in. All right, so this is another thing that's attesting to fast load time. See, when a game is loading, it's literally just reading the data off of the storage, taking all that data, and the CPU is uncompressing all those files, like the textures, the sound, everything else, and then sending it to the RAM so that the RAM can put it over there, be like, all right, we're dealing with this now. Let's display and do this. So that's where that is. Now, it delivers a maximum bandwidth of 448 gigabytes a second. That's pretty damn good, man. So there, and of course, motherboards having integrated RAM has been a thing since who knows how long. But yeah, and the storage, the capacity of the RAM is 16 gigabytes. This is telling you guys something, okay? Remember what I said about the CPU not being that much more powerful than my CPU right now. And look what I said about GPU and things like that. This is GDDR6, 16 gigabytes of RAM. In this day and age, still to this day and the coming age, you have no need for more than 16 gigabytes of RAM unless you are doing ultra 4K HD video editing and, doing making CG animations and character modeling and fully 3D rendering and things like that. If you're not doing heavy workload things, you don't need more than 16 gigabytes. And especially if it's just a gaming PC. If it's just a gaming PC and everyday use PC, you don't need more than 16 gigabytes of RAM. All right. Every game can run just fine with 16 gigs of RAM. Every game works pretty good with like about a 6-core processor would do you fine. All right. So you don't really have to go past like the Ryzen 5s, and you don't really need to go past the i5s in the Intel family, which why would you go Intel in this day and age? Yeah. So just look at this. This is what PC people been trying to tell a lot of console players for years. It's just a smaller gimped version of a PC. But now they don't have to gimp it anymore because we can get a hold of better hardware, and is more demanding now graphically since consoles are trying to catch up to PC. Now for storage, they also have integrated into the motherboard 825 gigabyte SSD instead of HDD. So for those who also don't know, SSDs is just basically like, it's not exactly flash memory, but it's very similar. And it uses those transfer rates in flash memory in order to transfer data way faster than waiting on a mechanical hard drive to move the arm and read the data off of the disk and then send the data. So this is a way faster way to do things. So, and that's why SSDs have become such a big thing to implement. But people, please keep in mind. Matter of fact, I won't go into too much detail, but if anything, I will let you guys know that if somebody's out there trying to build a PC, make a new PC or whatnot, and you're trying to buy an SSD, or if you're just looking for an SSD to put into your PlayStation 4 or something like that, make sure that you have the type of SSD that has a, what's it called, a loader cache. Make sure it has a loader cache, so that way your files won't be misconstrued and moved around and messed up and ruining the lifespan of your SSD. SSDs are not meant to be defragged. That's another thing. Do not defrag your SSD. You will ruin the lifespan of your SSD. And as long as you make sure that there's a loader cache on it, then you're fine. Because loader caches can it'd be the big difference from you losing your work, even though you thought that it was transferred over, and etc. You never know what happens. All in all, 820 gigabytes of default storage. The majority of that will be, I won't say the majority, it's like a good, 15% or so is going to be used for the operating system. So, yeah. And they also have a custom SSD controller. Now, the custom SSD controller, it's basically just organizing and making sure that the workload of the SSDs are performing optimally. That's what a controller is for. It says here that read speeds are as fast as 5.5 gigabytes per second at raw data transfer rates. Raw data transfer rates means that uncompressed files, meaning audio files, uncompressed, textures, uncompressed. The reason uncompression is a big deal is because back in the day, games had to make if you made the textures for, say, a video game like the main character in Days Gone or Kratos. Let's say you got the textures for Kratos. All right, you have to make a completely separate set of textures of a much huger size, just in case somebody wanted to play the game in 4K. So this would take up so much extra space on discs and make games way bigger. It's another one of the reasons why Call of Duty is so huge, because it has to accommodate for people playing all the way back on PS4 and Xbox Ones that came out in 2013, all the way up until now, to people playing on 4K to 8K. And that's what I was telling y'all about. Especially the biggest culprit of this is audio. Uncompressed audio takes up so much goddamn space, it's ridiculous. There's one format out there for audio. I don't know if everybody's heard about it, but it's called FLAC, F-L-A-C, and it is a lossless, uncompressed audio file. And one song could sometimes be a gigabyte, son. All right. So when you have audio files, it's supposed to be, but the thing about that though, because it's lossless, it's the most vivid audio you will ever hear in your life. If you hear your favorite song in a FLAC, oh my goodness, it is beautiful. It'll make you want to cry. So that's the thing. They want these high definition studio level movie blockbuster level audio when it comes to these gunshots and these voice acting and whatnot. And it's just they go the route of going uncompressed. Now think about that. Now imagine having that uncompressed audio taking up all that space. Now imagine that they include in the same game version English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, and all these other voices. Yeah, that's why Call of Duty is fucking huge. All right, that's why it takes up so much space. That was a huge tangent. Let's keep going. Now, these things, especially that RAM, the RAM and the CPU are the two components that dictate your loading time. So loading speed dictated by that. The RAM I'm using right now, I think is 16 gigabytes of a DDR4 at 32 megahertz, 3200 megahertz, excuse me. So yeah, my load times, they're decent. They are faster than the console. I will give you that. My load times are faster than PS4, but they're not as fast as like the high end PCs. And I don't know, maybe about a little under par to the PS5 and the Series X since they got more recent hardware. But yeah, that's the thing. Now, here's the thing they're going to be talking about is basically the CPU's die. The die is basically the literal plate of this, like there's the CPU chip, the real CPU, and the plate right on top of it is called the die. That die sits under your heat spreader, aka your IHS, the integrated heat spreader, in order to spread the heat evenly so that it can be transferred onto a heat sink and etc. Now, the die on this here processor not only unique, but also they ran tests on this the silicon to cool it with not traditional thermal paste, but they came up with the idea to cool it with liquid metal. For those who don't know what liquid metal is, of course, wait. I'm tripping. Liquid metal goes on the die anyway. Especially on some faulty Intel CPUs, you would have to remove the heat spreader and put liquid metal on the die in order to give more life to the CPU. Because oh my goodness, bro. But I saw a thread where people complaining about it being cooled with liquid metal. Maybe they were just ignorant. They don't know any better. But yeah, it seems that they're just gonna use the liquid metal on the silicon die, which silicon not to be confused with silicone. And let's see, this led to a very high thermal density in the wait. Let's just read it verbatim. The PlayStation 5's SoC is a small die running at very high clock rate. This led to a very high thermal density in the silicon die, which required us to significantly increase the performance of the thermal conductor, also known as the TIM. So that sits between the SoC and the heatsink. Now, the PS5 utilizes liquid metal as the TIM to ensure long-term stable high cooling performance. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I see what they're doing. So basically, right upon the motherboard, they're gonna have the heat pipe sitting on the other side of the die. On the other side of the heat spreader, which is directly integrated. So it's gonna be, they're just gonna skip the middleman from the heat spreader, have it already built in, and going directly to the heat sink. And the liquid metal makes sense. It's a good choice. And I ain't mad at him. I need to check out Gamers Nexus and see if Steve had anything to say about that build, because I'm pretty sure he made a video about it. He'd be foolish not to. So yeah. And also another tidbit for those who don't know, the liquid metal is gallium, most likely. Usually it's a gallium, which is a good spreadable metal. And it's so, like, you can spread it so thin and so well, it's so efficient to the point where you literally put a small drop, and I mean a very small drop. We're talking about like smaller than a teardrop, and you spread it around as evenly as you can, and it's just fine. That's the exact amount that you need, and you'll be good. So yeah, most of this right here, as you could tell, this is me just nerding out. And they showed the heat sink, which is a very unique shape. Also, not only to fit in the case for stylized purposes, but also it reaches beyond just the CPU all the way around to, let's say, near the fan and by the RAM, it looks. And of course, the power supply is a 350 watt, which, to put that into context, my PC is running a 450 watt power supply. So that tells you it doesn't take a lot of power to run powerful components. I think the biggest PSU you would ever need, the biggest power supply unit you would ever need in a PC is like 800 watts, man. 800 to 850. That's the most you would need. With that, you could put a 30, 90, and many other things into it, and you'll be fine. You don't really need to go overboard. But there's plenty of people go overboard and get like 1,000 watt PSUs. But 1,000 watts is mostly for like huge bombastic, heavy lifting working job, heavy lifting hardware jobs, So hey, either who, I talked about that way too damn long. Let me take a sip of water. All right. Let's jump back into it. So yeah, that's the full teardown of the PS5. This is something I wanted to share with y'all in detail as much as I could. This is me just saying about it fresh, me just talking about it freshly. I haven't looked at any reviews or any other opinions on it at all, but I will be shortly after this video is uploaded. So let's move on to the next thing on the docket. Over here, MSI Gaming USA, the third-party manufacturers of graphics cards and many other PC components that people know and love for gaming, and they've been caught allegedly red-handed, scalping, what was it, 3090s? I think it was just in general, just GeForce RTX 30 series cards on eBay. Now, they released a statement about it, saying this. Starlit Partner is an individual sales subsidiary working under MSI. They carry excess inventory and refurbished items and would not be given newly released products such as the GeForce RTX 30 series graphics cards. As such, we have conducted an investigation and found that an error allowed them access to inventory they were not permitted to handle. Starlit Partner has been instructed to contact the individual customers who purchase these graphics card products and offer two options: return the product and receive a full refund, or a partial refund of the amount paid over MSRP. Basically, market price. Basically, they'll just compensate you, so you just buy one for the price you were supposed to. And lastly, they said, moving forward, MSI will enforce a stricter policy to avoid situations like this happening again. Of course, the reception of this news to the general public on the 7th of October 2020 is just that they seem kind of sus and they've done it to themselves and they just got caught and blah, blah, blah. I can't exactly adopt it. That's why I say allegedly on the docket, is because I feel like, why would a company on that scale be desperate enough to flip some damn graphics cards with that little bit of money compared to the money that they deal with on a regular basis? Like, that wouldn't help them at all. So I feel like they would be doing something shady in a whole nother realm of business level, on a whole nother level of business, rather than all the way down here on the retail front. Like, nah, come on now. Let's not be stupid. But that's my humble opinion. Next on the docket, backward compatibility. PS4 games playable on the PlayStation 5. This is huge news because literally there's only 11 games that are not playable on the PlayStation 5 via backward compatibility to the PS4. And all of them are shit games or stuff that I haven't played. Like Afro Samurai 2, thank God. We didn't need that. No. All right, that was bad. And Shadow Complex Remastered, which I've heard a lot of good things about Shadow Complex, but never played it. So yeah, it's a very small list. You could go ahead and click the link and take a look at the list, but it's very, very small. It's nothing games. But that means that the majority of the PS4 library will be available, which is like 98%, 99%, something like that. Yeah, they said like 4,000 plus games. So good. It'll be an easy transition. But take a look at this full article, because there are other things that will not be available on the PlayStation 5 when playing PS4 backward compatible games. So yeah, next on the docket, Microsoft sides with Epic in its fight with Apple, promises a more open Microsoft store. All right, to long story short, too long didn't read this. Basically, Microsoft is like, you know what, Epic Games, y'all talking some good shit when it comes to that lawsuit y'all got against Apple. We with you on that. We're gonna go the opposite route and make this business move about gaming under Microsoft with the Xbox Game Pass and things like that for the people and more appealing to them. So that way they can make an easier choice. So they decided to come up with 10 principles to ensure that developers and users are free to do what they need within the realms of the law on their app store and not have it so locked down to where developers really can't do anything. So the principles are thus: 1, developers will have the freedom to choose whether to distribute their apps for Windows through our app store. We will not block competing app stores on Windows. 2, we will not block an app from Windows based on a developer's business model or how it delivers content and services, including whether content is installed on a device or streamed from the cloud. That's super good. 3, we will not block an app from Windows based on a developer's choice of which payment system to use for processing purchases made in its app. Number 4, we will give developers timely access to information about the interoperability. Yeah. Interoperability interfaces we use on Windows as set forth in our interoperability principle. Basically, to operate interchangeable operation, basically. Every developer will have access to our app store as long as it meets objective standards and requirements, including those for security, privacy, quality, content, and digital safety. Our app store will charge reasonable fees that reflect the competition we face from other app stores on Windows and will not force a developer to sell within its app anything it doesn't want to sell. Our App Store will not prevent developers from communicating directly with their users through their app for legitimate business purposes. Our App Store will hold our own apps to the same standard to which it holds competing apps. Microsoft will not use any non-public information or data from its App Store about a developer's app to compete with it. Our App Store will be transparent about its rules and policies and opportunities in promotion and marketing. Apply these consistently and objectively. Provide notice of changes and make available a fair process to resolve disputes. Sounds pretty fair to me, and I like that. I'm not even huge on Microsoft, but that's a good move. I'm proud of it. Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games, shared these 10 principles and linked it in a tweet, and he stated this, and I quote, "Epic Games has proudly supported Microsoft operating systems since 1991, and it's wonderful to see Microsoft formally codify its long-held principles in Windows as an open platform and a fair market for all developers and consumers." This right here is the point of Windows. Even though sometimes the operating system can be dog shit, all right, it's the fact that they give people freedom is the reason why it can't be toppled by Apple. No matter how much people love the Mac will never topple Windows simply because of freedom. You can't do everything you want in the Mac legally. Legally speaking, in the average user, you cannot do everything that you want with a Mac. Most of the apps have to be paid for. Most of the things that you do on there are literally unique to the Mac OS. So there's going to be file formats that you got to fuck around with and all type of things. It's just a lot. It's just so much. But either way, that's good news. And hopefully we'll see them actually follow it up and not try to spin it into something that they can abuse. All right. And next, Indivisible will get no more content or updates following Lab Zero controversy. I saw this tweet when it came up because I followed Indivisible ever since it was first announced. And matter of fact, I think it was one of the head developers was a guest star on the Super Best Friends podcast way back in the day, and he was pitching the game so people can know about it. Yeah, back when it was in Kickstarter, which is one of the gooder Kickstarter games to come out, actually. Anywho, they released an official statement and let people know that they won't be doing anything else to the game. They'll just be releasing one more update for the Switch, and then that's it. Just so we can be equal with the other versions of the game. And this will be the official, I guess, the end of them working on it for now. I'm not sure what we don't know what could happen, but yeah, since Lab Zero Games is going under thanks to Mike Z, well, so does the games that they were working on under it. So goodbye, Indivisible. Really good artwork and very creative designs, especially the character designs. All right, and lastly on the docket this week we have Sony will transition to a single account for all major services ahead of the PS5 launch. What this means is that if you have a PlayStation Network account, it will become your PlayStation Rewards, PlayStation Video, PlayStation Music, and more under one account. So your PSN will be your PlayStation Sony account. I think they said what it's going to change into your PlayStation accounts. No, Moving on. Basically, they're gonna become like Sony accounts, and it's a Sony account. So it's going from PlayStation accounts to Sony accounts, and it should be like a an all-purpose account for everyone, and everybody's account is going to be upgraded to that point. That means you also have access to the other services. But what I'm hoping, and I really hope and wish that this does not increase the price of PlayStation Plus. It already costs too much, to be honest with you. Especially since you don't really need to pay for online. You shouldn't have to. It's literally just you connecting using your own internet. There's no reason to pay for online, but they've been getting away with it, so it's too late. But anywho, before I go on a tangent on that, I'm gonna go ahead and sign this thing out because it's long enough, and I'm gonna have to see y'all next week or when the stream pops up on Evil Within 2. So just keep an eye on that and go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter so you can find out when it's gonna happen. I try my best to tweet right before I start streaming, or if I just feel like streaming, I'll just start streaming and not say nothing. So just be around, and I'll eventually tweet it out, in the middle of the stream after I've started. So get ready, because I feel like it's some good things coming, and it's big old things coming, you know. That's everything that I could tell you about what's going on this week. Y'all take care of yourselves. Do your research. Find out everything that you can. And if you're interested in all of the things that I spoke about, then feel free to let your curiosity run. Hit me up. Find me. Give me a holler. I do respond. I definitely do respond. So, all in all, at the end of the day, always remember the channel motto, okay? Intentions are the most important. Actions ain't nothing but loud, and words don't mean a damn thing, all right? Y'all take care of yourselves out there, and I love you. Peace. HP. Zoe! Bruh, I will... Psych. Yeah. Really?